Good morning. Today is the 25th of October 2024 and I'm going to go through my trading plan and levels for today. Before I start, let's take a look at what news could be moving in the market. We've had durable goods come in at 8:30. We had a bit of a positive bullish move from that time. 8:30, yeah. And we've only been up, and then we've got some news coming in at 10 o'clock, which is today. Do you have any earnings overnight or today? Look at yesterday's earnings. Thursday. Sort by market cap. I can't see any large earnings. So let's just get on to the levels for today. So just keep an eye on those times. We just keep an eye on 10 o'clock for anything that could potentially move the market. So let's go to the ES. We'll start with the ES, and we've got a few good levels coming up. And one of the levels I'm watching is a break. You could say the retest of this trend line, even though I took that play yesterday. We broke down through it. We're coming back close to it, and I did, even though I was initially long at that level. I think I was long at that level and it stopped me out. I did actually take a short yesterday and I had quite a decent day. I rode it pretty much down and then the rest of my just stopped out when it broke the trend on the 5-minute chart. So today I'm watching this area here, 5800, 5890 for a rejection again. I do quite like this area. I'm not sure where my volume profile's gone. Oh, I know why, because I'm looking at my... This is a chart I use when I'm testing out code. Let's go back to ES. Here we go, that's better. So got volume profile on the left. Get my levels back again. Right, so what I'm watching today, go back to the hourly, we're almost there. Here we go. So I've just been out. My brother's birthday today. He runs a restaurant called Sobo Fish down in Southbourne on the south coast of England. So I was there. Ironically, it's his birthday, but he cooked for me. So I had a nice meal there, really nice meal. If you're ever in England, ever on the south coast, then I recommend going to Southbourne and a place called Sobo Fish. And they've got a website called sobofish.com. So worth checking it out. So going back to the levels. Right now we're right at an area of confidence, bottoms are pivots, tops are pivots, a little bit of volume in on the left hand side on the profile, and we're at a rejection point. So we could wait for it to break the trend. You can see there's this trend going up, and if it breaks the trend, let's look for a re-entry back in this area for the short, and that will be going with the general trend we've seen over the last few days. We're on a bit of a downtrend, as you can see. If we break and retest pre-market high, we can watch it for a break and retest long. Let's just use a rectangle. So this is the area we're watching. So 58.70 is the area we're watching at the moment. We can watch for a break and retest a pre-market high. And then I've got a level up here I'm watching as well. It's right on the point of control. And you can see that we've got all this volume come in there. So it's a point of control, that area as well. And big area of confidence. We've got tops of pivots, bottoms of pivots. So what was the ceiling became the floor, then became the ceiling, and then the last time we was there we had this big reaction back down. So we haven't been back up there yet since. And the other place I'm watching in that same area, you can see where this trend line, you could say there, intercepts this trend line, and potentially we've just marked across in an area we can watch. So it's right on the moving average. There's 50 moving average starting to curve over as well. So 58.80 all the way up to 5900. So this is a region to watch for rejection. But my preferred area will be 58.90, 58.86. Exactly where I've put this level here, just below the point of control. And we've got this volume shelf as well. So trying to get up through it's going to be difficult. So we could watch that for some big orders on the order flow and an exhaustion and then a rejection. So that's the area I'm watching. So to confirm, we've got a break and retest of pre-market high. If we lose that trend, this trend line here, we can look for a break, a retest of that area short. So that's 2 levels at 58, 70, 72, I think that is. A rejection at 58.90, and then bounces. If we break that area and come back and retest it, we can watch for the retest long into new all-time highs, and we can look for a trend entry. And then if we break this trend line and we come all the way down, the next area to watch for a bounce will be this region here. We've got big volume coming in, and so I do quite like that area as well. And we came into it, you can see it's a solid area there, is where the bodies of candles are. Came close to it yesterday as well, day before, was that yesterday? So 58.20 area we're going to watch for a potential bounce. And we've got this larger trend line, let's zoom out. This is a larger daily, or you could say larger hourly trend line. This one, which we've linked up to here, you know, depends how you want to see it. You could use the bodies of candles. So it's a zone, so we could have a zone, this area here. So we could watch that area there as well for a bounce. So if we do come in to this area, again 58.22 is an area to watch it bounce, we can watch for a bounce. And then obviously we've got this trend line which we're running down at the moment, and we're coming into that trend line. So we could, if we're going to put in a series of lower lows and lower highs, then potentially we've got this trend line to watch. I'm going to keep these 2 trend lines in place for now, purely because we can use it as reference if we come back up for the retest. But I do quite like the retest of 50.86, and that's pretty much my plan for today. A bounce area down here, a rejection up here, break and retest a pre-market high, break and retest a pre-market low short, and that's long, and then a break and retest long. So even though it's only 1, 2, 3, 4 levels, we can get about 6 plays out of that. And that's it really for SPY. Let's look at the daily quickly. Let's just get rid of these, leave them on the 60-minute visibility. That one. Visibility, let's get rid of days. We'll leave that one on there for now so it's not as messy. Okay, so volume. We had that big red candle 2 days ago, and we saw that on volume. So it's the first time we've had above average volume on a red candle. We talked about the weakness we've had up here, and that's because we had a top and tail candle, and then it came all the way back down to create that top and tail doji. Then we had a couple of bottom tail candles, which means at one point these candles would have been full red candles, and then shown, so that's the first, second and third sign of weakness. And then finally we broke down for the bottom of that candle and we sold off. But then we've retouched, we came into this trend line and we've just touched it basically and bounced. So the next key area is the break of this trend line. Obviously we've got, let's use a line. This is the area we've been watching, and we tried to break through it, and we used this trend line. So that's the area we've been watching. We bounced off that trend line, we bounced off that area effectively. And then the next trend line we're watching could be that one, that's already broken, and we've got this area here as well. So these are areas to watch. 57.50. Potentially we've got a little bit of volume here, that may have gone when we broke through it, so that could be the volume that was set up originally there, and there must be a bit of volume coming in there. So we can watch 57.50 for a bounce if we get back down there on the daily. So that's more of a swing trade. I am short FQGBUHXQ. I've been short here. I think I got short on that red day there, and then it pushed up a bit and come back down. And obviously it's an options I'm short, so it's not the greatest trade. I was looking to add to it potentially just to give myself a better price. So maybe now is a good time to add. It's broken, but we're going to NQ next. NQ, I think I've been short when we was on this candle here. In fact, it might have been that red, I can't remember what it was. Round about this time I went short on that double top, it would have been, and then we pushed through, came back down, suddenly I was in the green, and now now it's in the green a lot, pulled back. What I'm really waiting for it to do is come down and break that trend line, or just trail this trend line down. So I'll hold on to it. I've got about 30 days left on that contract, and I'll decide what to do in the next week. Again, volume, we had above average volume on the red day, below average on the green day, signs of weakness as well, and we are holding that trend line. We're nowhere near all-time highs, so that's where we are. We're nowhere near those bits there. So all-time highs is from July this year, this one here, so that's where we're miles from there. Unlike ES where we've broken all-time highs, we haven't on Qs, but we are trailing this trend line, so it could potentially get up there. Let's go down to the hourly and get some levels. So this looks like a better short coming up, even though it's showing more weakness in general, but we are coming back up into this area which I've been watching for some time, 2500. We're right at 2504 now, so this is a potential short. So what we want to see is it for break the trend, draw the line. So that's the trend line there. You can see we've been holding it, especially here. We held, and then if we break that trend line, come back up, retest, we can look for a double top. I do quite like 2500 for the short. Otherwise, we can watch for a break and retest over that trend line, but we have to get over this trend line first. And then bounce wise, I do like anywhere in this region for a bounce. 19,850. Could watch 20,000 psychological number. We didn't quite get there when we sold off a few days ago, but we can watch that area, and we can watch anywhere along this trend line. This is if I zoom out, you can see this trend line is formed on the daily going back to August. Then we've got September. We haven't put one in October yet, so maybe October is going to have a bit of a pivot from there, and we'll see what happens next. And that's it really. We can also watch some other levels. We've got areas of confluence as well. Happens to be, we've got these areas of confluence as well. Tops of candles, bottoms of candles. You know, these levels have been in place for some time, so we can play them as well. But they're not as good as the more recent candle and the more recent areas. That's why I quite like this area, because that's the most recent area. And last time we came into this area, we had a big drop down. So maybe next time we come into this area, which we're coming into now, we have a smaller drop down, and we may even set up a new trend line. But we'll keep an eye on the NQ. Let's look at SPY. SPY's coming into that area of confidence now. I do quite like the rejection on the trend break. So again, if we break this trend, this is the area I'm watching as well. Let's just put it in. You can see that area there. So we watch that area for rejection. We get into that 582.47 to 583, and I do quite like this for rejection. Anything above that we can then consider break and retest long. And if we come back down into this region, I think I'm going to change that now. This is not really valid. I think I prefer this area here for a bounce, and that's at 575. Only because we've got a little bit of volume over this side as well, a bit of a volume shelf, and that's the only time we've been down there then and that point. So we know there's potential orders waiting to go long down there. We missed it the first time and definitely missed it on that time. So let's keep an eye on that area for a bounce at 575. SPX levels are pretty much the same as they have been. So this is an area I like. 58.25, 58.24 for the rejection. Top is a gap fill there. We've got bottoms of pivots. We've bit of consolidation. We broke through, pushed up, and then broke down, and now we can watch 58.25, 58.30 area for rejection. But we do have this big gap, this gap here. So if we can get back up into this region, I do quite like the short at 58.50 to 58.60. And that'll be on ES, so ES has to be setting up as well. Potentially, we've got this trend line forming as well. Look at that trend line. So we could keep an eye on that if we do come up into this region, especially on that level we've been watching as well. That's a double confirmation trend line, a level we've been watching. Volume shelf as well. We've got this big volume coming in. Another confirmation, lots of confirmations where we can wait for rejection, and that is at 58.45. QQQ. like Nasdaq's coming up to test this region, so I do quite like this region. 496.22 for the rejection. Bottoms of these pivots, tops of these pivots, a fake breakout and then breakdown. Bit of volume coming in, not a great deal, but it's broken over the point of control, and so I do quite like the rejection there. I also do quite like the bounce. Where's the best place for a bounce? Probably around yesterday's low. And bear in mind at that point we'll still be let's draw it as a line. If we get to yesterday's low, we are probably still holding the trend line, and we can probably watch for it. Maybe with a broken trend line we can watch for it. It might be still on that uptrend, but if we do break yesterday's high, pre-market low, come back for the retest short, and that will be exactly what we're looking for, especially when it comes into this area of confluence. And I think that's it really. Crude oil. We've got this trend line, not as straight as lines I know. I can redraw it with an actual line. So we broke that trend line. Break that one. Got a new trend line there. You could even do it from this area if you wanted to. Doesn't make too much difference, but you can see the idea. It's fanning out. I do quite like keeping an eye on how the trend lines are formed. If we get above this trend line, we look for the break and retest. That's basically pre-market high. Basically over 72 long. If we lose that trend line, we can watch for a bounce down at 70. If we lose that, break and retest short. Any shorts? The only shorts I can see is if we get up into that 72, 73 area. Gold. Hey, look at that. Exactly what hopefully if you watched my video yesterday, I said what looks like we might be setting up a potential head and shoulders pattern. We saw that part of it, and I said it's either going to break out above there or it's going to form a right shoulder, and look what's happened. It's formed a right shoulder. So now we've got a neckline, which makes it even more interesting now. So what I'm waiting for is for the break of this neckline and the retest. So I'm going to put my alert in. Let's move that. That's my alert here of the neckline. So pre-market low. I'm looking for a break and retest pre-market low. That's my prime watch today. These are my favourite patterns, head and shoulders patterns. And it's nice when you can predict it. We talked about the head and shoulders pattern when we were putting in the head. Then it formed the rest of the head, and we talked about it yesterday, day before, if it's putting in a right shoulder. We said it could have gone one of two things. It could keep going, put in a new high, or it could pull back and make a shoulder. So the shoulder's great, it's just what we want. So let's keep an eye on this region, 27.29 to 27.30 for a reject, break and retest short. I'm going to bring mine up a little bit there. Brilliant, that's my only play I'm watching. If we do break it, we've got a target, that pivot, and that's also a bounce point. You can see when we went through, we kind of pulled back at that point, and then we finally broke through. And I'm sure if I go to the volume, there's not much volume there, but if I zoom in, let's just see what happens if I zoom into that area. If we see a volume spike there, wait for it to load, and there's nothing, is there? Well, technically we've got a bit of a volume shelf, and it's at a level, and it's at a previous pivot. That bit of volume there, potentially we can watch that as a bounce point. Better volume spike though if we do break down into this region. Again, let's have a look. As that compared to the previous all-time highs, a lot lower down, but there's a lot more volume in this region. You don't need the volume profile or the point of control to see that. You just know by looking at that, that's where the volume is going to be, and that's where it is. So potentially we can watch this area for a bounce, and that'll be our target if we take this as a swing. I may even try and find a gold swing trade out of that. RTY, oh, press wrong button. RTY. Now on the opposite side of things, we had the head and shoulders, and the last one we got an inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and what are we looking at now? Potentially neckline, a break, a retest. I love these. I missed this one. And then the bounce. Look at that. That's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Shame it's in the pre-market. Maybe I should start looking at pre-market a bit more. I was out this morning anyway, so I wouldn't have taken it. But that's the exact pattern I'm looking for. And it's a pattern that goes into a level we're watching as well. Big major level. Falling profile. Falling spike. All I suggest is try and find a bit of a trend entry. Maybe a pullback into that previous pivot for the long to continue the trend up. But that's a perfect pattern, exactly what we're looking for. I just love the fact, even you don't have to have a horizontal neckline, but you can have a slight neckline like that, and that's exactly played out how expected. Perfect. So there you go. That's an inverse head and shoulders compared to a hidden head and shoulders. Again, all-time highs at levels we're watching. This is the same. This is not at all-time highs, but it's looking for a bounce at a previous level we're watching as well. And perfect. Good example. And now look at that, we're breaking over, so still going. Market's open now. It's a bit late, so I'll quickly look at the last one. YM. I do this not just for the, and there's not many people who watch these videos, but I do this for myself as my own journal, so I can refer back to these videos. Again, potentially a head and shoulders pattern here. Maybe watch for the retest of yesterday's high long, so keep an eye on that. Otherwise, we've got a confidence area up here at 42, about 43,000. And then Bitcoin sold off over the last few days a little bit. Had a bit of a sell-off. And look at that, beautiful. This is what we talked about. I did say if it ever touches that area there, it couldn't have been any more spot on. If it ever touches that trend line, I might look to add. I missed it, so I didn't add. But that's exactly what we're looking for. So now we want to break out over that pivot, pull back to 60 or 70,000 and push on. So 70,000 is the next target. Next bounce area will be 63,400 or 6,400. Okay, market's open. ES is looking bullish right now. Coming right in, look at that, X marks the spot, and look how it rejected. It's amazing how things come together as we talk. That's in the still in the pre-market candle. So I'm going to be looking actively for a rejection around 58.60 in this region here. So we're right in that area. So I'm going to stop the stream. Live videos on as well. A live order flow streams on, which it looks a bit like this, and it's looking very bullish right now. So probably keep an eye on a short. But that's it. I'll be back on Monday at 2 PM UK time or 9 AM Eastern time. Don't forget.